The night was silent, but the palace was not. Flames flickered along the marble walls as whispers of betrayal slithered through the corridors. Outside, the greatest empire on earth waited like a hungry beast. Inside, one woman stood between glory and oblivion. She was not just a queen. She was a strategist, a seductress, a scholar, and the last hope of a dying kingdom. They called her dangerous. They called her irresistible. They called her Cleopatra VII. And before the sun rose again, she would decide the fate of ancient Egypt forever. The Nile flowed as it always had eternal, unbothered by the rise and fall of kings. But in the grand city of Alexandria, destiny was unraveling. Cleopatra was only 18 when she first tasted power. Her father, a weak ruler, had left behind a fragile throne. Tradition demanded she share it with her younger brother, more a puppet than a king. But Cleopatra was not made to share power. She was different. She spoke multiple languages, something no ruler before her had done. She studied philosophy, politics, and science. She didn't just want to rule Egypt. She wanted to control its future. But ambition has enemies, and hers were already closing in. Exile and return, the palace turned against her quickly. Advisors manipulated her brother. Soldiers turned their loyalty. Within months, Cleopatra was forced into exile, cast out into the desert. Stripped of her crown, most would have disappeared into history. Cleopatra began planning her return. She gathered allies, built a small army, and waited. Then opportunity arrived. Wearing Roman armor, the arrival of Caesar, Rome, the rising superpower of the ancient world, had its eyes on Egypt. And leading its forces was a man whose name alone could shake nations. Julius Caesar. Cleopatra knew what others didn't. If she could win Caesar, she could win everything. So she did something no queen had ever dared. She smuggled herself into his palace, hidden inside a carpet. When it was unrolled before Caesar, out stepped not just a woman, but a storm in human form. She spoke with intelligence, moved with confidence, calculated every word. Caesar was captivated, not just by her beauty, but by her mind. With Caesar's backing, Cleopatra reclaimed her throne. Her brother was defeated, her enemies were silenced, and Egypt once again had a queen. But this was no simple alliance. Cleopatra and Caesar became more than political partners. They became lovers. Together, they had a son, Caesarion. To Cleopatra, this child was more than family. He was the future, a bridge between Egypt and Rome, a symbol of power that could rival empires. But Rome does not share power easily. In the heart of Rome, whispers of betrayal echoed once more. On a day that would shake history forever, assassination of Julius Caesar unfolded. Caesar was stabbed again and again by those he trusted most. The most powerful man in the world fell at the feet of his enemies, and Cleopatra's world shattered with him. She fled Rome immediately, returning to Egypt with her son. But danger was far from over, because Rome was not done with her. From the ashes of Caesar's death rose new leaders. Among them stood a man of ambition, charisma, and reckless passion, Mark Antony. He summoned Cleopatra to meet him. This time, she did not arrive in secret. She arrived like a goddess. sailing down the river on a golden barge surrounded by silk, perfume, and music. She turned diplomacy into theater, and once again, Rome fell under her spell. Cleopatra and Mark Antony became inseparable. Together, they dreamed of an empire that would rival Rome itself. They had children, built alliances, strengthened Egypt, but their power frightened Rome, especially one man, a cold, calculating leader named Octavian. He saw Cleopatra not as a queen, but as a threat, and he used Antony's love against him. Propaganda spread across Rome. Cleopatra was painted as a manipulator, a foreign seductress corrupting Roman power. The people turned. The Senate declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. The final battle would decide everything. At sea, near the coast of Greece, fleets clashed in one of history's most decisive conflicts, the Battle of Actium. Antony's forces were strong, but Octavian's strategy was stronger. As chaos erupted, something unexpected happened. Cleopatra's ships turned. She retreated. Antony, torn between love and duty, followed her. And in that moment, they lost. Defeat spread like fire. Allies abandoned them. Cities surrendered. Hope faded. Back in Egypt, the once mighty queen stood at the edge of destruction. Antony, believing Cleopatra was dead, fell on his own sword, but she was still alive. And now, alone, Octavian entered Egypt as a conqueror. Cleopatra knew what awaited her: chains, humiliation, a life paraded through Rome as a trophy that she would never allow. Dressed in royal robes, surrounded by symbols of her power, Cleopatra made her final choice. Legend says she allowed a serpent the asp to deliver the fatal bite. A queen's death on her own terms. With Cleopatra's death, an era ended. Egypt, once the greatest civilization on earth, became a province of Rome. Octavian rose as Augustus, the first emperor, and Cleopatra became immortal, not just as a ruler, but as a symbol of intelligence, of power, of defiance. She was not defeated by beauty. She was not remembered for romance. She was remembered because she refused to bow. As the Nile continues to flow, whispering stories of the past, one name still echoes through time: Cleopatra, the last queen who dared to stand against an empire. If you want to uncover more lost empires, untold stories, and powerful figures like Cleopatra, subscribe now, because the past is far more dangerous than you think.